Am I in the room?
Praise the Lord. Amen. You say that we're good.
We're good.
Lord. Amen. This is the day that the Lord has made, and we're going to rejoice and be glad in it. I hope we're on and alive. We've got all this new technology, and I'm so grateful for a fantastic team of media folks that get me going. I've got an iPad over here. I've got all kinds of information in front of me, and so I'm assuming that we're on live. I don't know what to touch here, so give me 1 second, Dr. White. I'm going to touch something and it's going to tell me if we're on live or not, and I have no idea, so someone will come and help me right now. Good afternoon, Dr. White.
Good afternoon. How you doing?
I am doing fantastic, and welcome to the Word of the Day here, sponsored by Livnway Christian Fellowship. And I am so excited to have you, I would say in the building, but
Yeah.
we're in buildings. You're there where you are, and I'm here where I am. And I am so excited about what's going on in our community. And again, welcome to the Word for the Day. And for those of you that don't know, our special guest is Dr. Judy White. She is the superintendent of the Riverside County Schools, and that's a big thing because the Riverside County Schools, under the leadership of Dr. White and her staff, they encompass, I understand, 510 schools, over 23 school districts, 430,535 students. Wow. 17,000 teachers, 16,000 non-teaching employees serving students, families in the Riverside community, and a multi-million-dollar budget. All I can say is, wow. Wow, Dr. White, that's a lot for you and your team to manage, especially under the conditions that we're faced with today. And so I'm excited about some of the questions that I'm going to have for you today, and maybe even our listening audience might chime in. But just looking at your resume, your credentials, been in education for 42 years. You've experienced success at every level. How did you know you were ready for this moment?
Well, first of all, Pastor Weber, I just want to thank you for allowing me to share some moments with you on the stage. I'll say on the stage, but really in this room. And I can say for sure that my steps have been ordered by the Lord. Wow. Every single position that I've held, God directed my path. I mean, there were some times I competed with 65 people. He put me on top. Other times it was 2 people. He made it away. But I was not looking to be the Riverside County Superintendent. Every step along the way, I just wanted to do my best job in that step. And then God opened up the door. And actually for this particular position, he had to speak to me. He had to use people and to come to me all in 1 week of time when I was trying to decide, am I going to apply or not? And 5 different people came to me in the most, just a ways that you wouldn't even know, but I knew it was God because they didn't even know each other, the people.
Wow.
And so they let me know God wanted me to do this.
So you took it as a confirmation and a
Yes,
call,
I did. I
not
did. It's a calling.
motion, but
Yes,
a calling.
absolutely.
And I understand that it's a position that you have to be voted in, and
Yes.
and you were voted in, and praise God, I'm glad that you're doing what you're doing. And so confirmation, I mean, you've achieved a success on every level. But I don't know if you were aware, and folks tell me that you're the first woman and the first African American woman to hold this position. Out of all the past 12 superintendents of the county, you're the first woman, the first African American woman. Uh, does that reality produce any added awareness or pressure for you, knowing that you're championing the cause for women and then African Americans and just being all inclusive? Does that create any awareness or pressure?
It definitely does. You want to, sometimes you just want to say, oh no, it's nothing, but it's a lot to it. I'll give you an example. The county offices have been in existence for 125 years. And not only had they never had a female, but they had never had a person of color, any person of color. So I remember the newspaper, they did a big article when I got the position, but I told them, I don't want you to keep emphasizing my gender and my race. I want you to remember that I got here from competence and servant leadership and the work. And but it is pressure. I mean, it's pressure where you always feel that you have to be above and beyond. You got to do more. Every time you walk in a room, you're very aware of who's there, so that you know that some people are seeing you through a lens of difference, and so you want to be better, and it does put a little pressure on you.
Well, talking about being better, obviously do a little research. Last year, 2019, the school year from last year, Riverside County represented the highest graduation rate among the large counties in California with a 90.1% graduation rate. I know you have to be
Yeah.
proud.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yes, that was something that we set out to do purposely. And when I say we, I'm talking about all the superintendents, everyone in the county, the team. And we said we can do this. And the only way you can accomplish something like that is you have to begin to know each and every student and meet them where they are. Because once you know who they are and what they need, then you can provide that. But we were the first to go over 90%. And we are from the largest counties in the whole state of California, outperforming LA, San Diego, Orange County. That was one that was really on our tails. And San Bernardino, I mean, all of them, the large counties, we came in number one, and we definitely celebrated by just saying thank you to the students, because you can actually set up programs, but if they don't access them, you can't get the results that you need. But not only have we improved the graduation rates from high school, but we've improved the attendance going to college. So
Wow.
that's a good thing.
So the youth, the children participated, and I'm sure they felt a sense of gratification and pride, all
Yes,
knowing that they were
yes,
a part of a historic year.
yes, yes, indeed.
Now,
Yes,
when
indeed.
you came in, obviously you have a vision, you had a mission, and you've enacted several initiatives from getting the community involved, faith-based initiatives, getting the business community involved, law enforcement. I mean, truly taking a village to accomplish the things that you're accomplishing. But of all of the initiatives, of all the things that you and your team have accomplished, is there one or two that you guys are the most proud of?
Yes, the two I think they were the most proud of has to do with adopt a school. We wanted every single school in Riverside County adopted by a business or faith-based community partner. And so there, like you said, there's over 510 schools, and we're almost there. We're not at 100% yet, but the relationships that we have garnered, we have over 1,000 partners, but some of the partners adopted the same school. So
Okay.
we have, so that's what's happened, but we've got over 400 adoptions. And so that's what we're proud of. But what I'm really proud of for this week, you know that once we transition into the distance learning, one of the challenges that people have talked about is the digital divide and how students didn't have devices and they didn't have connectivity. And so we started a campaign called All for One. And we want this to be our legacy for 2020. But All for One was that we want each student to have a device, not one per family. Because when you have one per family, you have 4 kids. Okay, who's going to be with their teacher that hour? So they start missing. So there's 430,000 students in Riverside County. We did the first assessment. We were 91,000 short. 91,000 students did not have a device. So we worked, and as different districts began to get more and more money, they were buying more. So we were down to 50,000. And then this week on Tuesday, the Board of Supervisors voted to give our campaign $10 million.
Wow.
And that's going to be another way to slice it. I've got meetings with Chase Bank and some other groups that's going to give, but I believe that before the middle of September, every student will have a device. And we have, like I said, others, Farmer Boys came on board, the health systems came on board, different groups, even Microsoft gave 100 devices, but we also said we have a personal responsibility to model. So I asked people who were working and people who were educators to buy a device. I bought a device, a personal device, and I gave the money for the device. My daughter, just trying to get people to say, all of us, if all of us can do this, we can make it happen for our young people. So by the middle of September, most of them should be distributed. And if you hear, or anybody's listening here about a child in Riverside County that does not have a device, we're going to have a number that they can call, because that is our goal. Yes.
Right. Now, are you saying to me, let me be clear, that every student gets a device? That's your goal, that every student will have a device, even if there are multiple students in the same house?
Absolutely.
Wow.
If you've got a 12th grader, 8th grader, and a 1st grader, you can't share. You can't share that, especially in a distance learning environment, because everybody's expected to be on there, and the teacher's not saying, well, who's in your family and switching. They're saying you need to be on there from 9 to 12. And so we want every single student to have a device by the middle of September.
So we've actually progressed from the one-room schoolhouse to where all the grades together, like House on the Prairie. They were all the kindergartners and the high school, all in one room. Now, not only are you educating students, but it sounds like a great part of your mission is to educate the community and build relationships outside the school district in and of itself, with business owners and other people that, again, have a heart for our youth and education.
Absolutely. There's no way you can have an effective educational system without partners. And that means your business partners, your faith-based community, your parents are the primary partners, and they have to know that they are partners together with educators. So we have higher ed partners, and we're just working together so that we can support the success of each individual student. Yes.
Now, you mentioned earlier, and it caught my ear, because our church is a community partner. We've adopted a school, and we're ready to get involved. But you said that there seems to be some additional schools that need to be adopted. If we've got some business leaders, some faith-based organizations, even individuals that are listening now, how would they go about adopting a school? What's the process? Who would they contact?
They would go online to Riverside County Office of Education, and then they would go to, we should have there is an adopt a school where you can click on it on the website. There's actually one that, and then we have parent ambassadors, we have community ambassadors that has the list of every one that's has not been adopted. And then that way people can say, well, I want something closer to my house. Some people get excited about adopting a school that they actually attended, whether, a business or a group of people. And if for some reason, when they're navigating the website, if they don't see it, they can always just email me at jdwhite@rcoe.org. And so maybe somebody could put in the chat room is jdwhite@rcoe.us.
And what types of engagement would a potential adoptive or someone that wanted to adopt a school, what types of engagement, what types of things do the schools need, the classrooms need? What could I expect?
Okay, so what we want, and the reason why it's been successful, we've asked the adopter and the principal of that school to sit down and talk about the needs of the school and what the adopter is willing to do. Sometimes it's about relationships, sometimes it's about financial donations, sometimes it's about volunteerism. Now, right now, with the situation that we're in, we're not asking for volunteers to come to the school at this moment. But I'll give you an example. When we could do that, Altura Credit Union adopted a couple of schools, and they actually let their employees off for an extended lunch to go and read with students. We have some that have, some of our churches have donated backpacks at the beginning of a school year. We have Bud's Tires. They wanted to increase attendance. So they told the students, for everybody who has good attendance, not just perfect, because sometimes perfect is hard, but good, and good was defined by no more than 3 absences, you'd be eligible for a trip to Disneyland. Now, again, can't go to Disneyland. It's just little things. But I think right now, what the principals are saying to me, they still have students that need mentoring. So there's a way to Zoom them in, and someone could be mentoring students. They could be participating in a club, sharing a career awareness in a club. But the main thing is that they have to sit down together, the principal and the adopter, and agree. And then that way they both have the buy-in. And it's something that the principal needs at the school. And it's something that the adopter would like to do.
Well, I hope that people will follow up and contact the district, because I'm sure there's someone listening right now who want to participate and adopt a school. Now, Dr. White, every school year comes with its own challenges. This year, 2020, is historic in a sense that we're faced with a pandemic and continued revelations of racial unrest and systems that are not equitable to all citizens. How has the district responded to the circumstances surrounding George Floyd's death?
Okay, so thinking that we are at a county level, and at this county level, there's 23 different districts, and different districts have responded differently. Some of them have reached out to the county office for additional professional development for their teachers, because this whole new awareness was like, this is really real. So let's first talk about how it impacted me as an individual. I think I'm going along, I'm always doing my best, but when that happened, it actually changed me. It was like a scab on my hand that I thought had been healed because I couldn't see it, that it had just been ripped off, and I felt like it was raw all over again. And I started having flashbacks. Here, I'm an educated woman, a county superintendent, and I started having flashbacks of different times in my life, in my family's life, that we have experienced racism. So it had a personal impact. So I remember my husband and I, on our 41st anniversary weekend in June, we were going in a very safe way to this hotel in Oxnard with the mask and everything. But on the freeway, we hadn't been paying attention to the news, and there was a protest on the freeway with a lot of protesters and police. We had to, well, good thing he was driving, because he backed off an on-ramp to go through the streets because we couldn't go, the freeway was closed. But I remember in my heart that I was almost equally fearful of both sides, the police and the other side. It was just the reality of that. It was traumatic. But as we started navigating through the community to get further away, to get back on the freeway, I saw Asian people, Latino people, white people with signs that said Black Lives Matter. And I began to cry because I never had seen people who did not look like me advocating with such passion. They were running down the street to get to the freeway to join these other people, all young people. I didn't see not one Black person on these streets that we were going through. They were all different races, but they were not Black, but they all had signs that said Black Lives Matter. And it just was an awakening. So going back to your question though, I think it has to start with us individually before it can go to how you impacting a system. So our students, we've had a unity conference last year where we brought 15 students from every high school, out of our 51 high school, 15 from every high school to the convention center. And we talked about if we are to improve race relationships, it has to start with us. And we have to be the ones to say, no, I'm going to make it better. So we reached out to our students. So there's students on every high school that we've reached out and reminded them that it's their turn to make things better. Because some of us that are getting older, we can only be in so many places, but what world are they creating? Not what do we leave for you, but what are you creating? The other things are that, we're, like I said, ongoing professional development, talking about it. And one of the things that we did as a county office is we wrote a book called When We Talk.
Mhm.
And it's about getting races together to talk about the issue and talk about solutions and look at your systems to make sure that there's not inherent discrimination in your systems.
Well, that's fantastic that the awareness, I think the
Mhm.
awareness and the mobilization, not being afraid to talk about it. And I think it's a conversation that has to be continued. So often in our systems, you know, we have this acute thing that happens. We talk about it for a moment and it goes away. I think if we're going to change the dynamics of how we live and how we interact with people, it has to be an ongoing conversation about race and any inequities that are present. And people just have to be willing to listen. So I'm excited about what you guys are doing and your response to it. I think even throughout Riverside County, even with the universities, they've stepped out and they've spoken and they've made them, they're giving their support towards to narrowing, if not completely erasing the divide that we call race, that everybody will have an opportunity. And we erase this, what we call this systemic racism. And I think America will be better for it. Some folks, we seem like we got to drag along because they'll say, well, look at Dr. Judy White. She's at the highest level of the county school system. That's a proof that there's no systematic racism. But that's not proof at all. As we applaud those accomplishments, we want everyone throughout the United States to live by that all men are created equal. And we have these inalienable rights. So bravo for the school district and for that epiphany of sorts that you had there on the freeway. We're in a pandemic. We're in the midst of the coronavirus. In-person instruction has changed how we know it. You've spoken on it briefly about what the district or the county is doing. What are some of the other things that you guys are possibly doing to take education to just another level, even though there's no in-person instruction?
I think one of the things we have to remember is that in March, when the governor called all of the county superintendents to Sacramento, it was 58 county superintendents in those states, and he told us, I want you to feed the children and I want you to provide distance learning. And that was at the beginning of the awareness of COVID-19. And since then, we've served 13 million meals
Wow.
since that time. And the distance learning was more of a reaction. So you found that there were some teachers who had been trying out, piloting a little bit of distance learning with their classes, but at the evening, not during a regular school day. And some who had taken classes and got certification. And then you had some that barely was turning on a computer. So the first part should not be considered true distance learning. So since then, during the summer, all the teachers have gone in Riverside County have gone through various levels of professional development to become more skilled. But we also have to remember it's not about just the academic part, but it's also the social emotional, because people are reporting, that there's a lot of negative impact since COVID-19. And we have to remember that we're going to have to provide counseling to our students. We do have counselors on standby, as well as the regular school counselors. They're still employed, and they're learning how to do it in a different way. There's the mandate that came out on July 17th by the governor that tells us that those counties that have the high positive rates are on a watch list, and you cannot do open, face-to-face instruction. So that still brings it to a higher level. And then people have to know that a lot of instruction came with that. Teachers have to do live instruction. They can't just do a video or say, okay, go online and click something. They have to actually be teaching now. And so that is something. And then we're also realizing that we have to do more to support our families. So there's a lot of food banks around. People just need to go to the Riverside County, not the education, but the county public health, and they'll see all types of resources to help the families. So these are some things that have happened, but I think this unknown, whenever being under this whole pressure of not knowing is not easy for educators. Educators are used to fixing stuff or having a limited time of a challenge. Okay, this fire is 80% contained, so you only got to deal with 20%. Right. But this one is something that we can't get a handle on.
Let me ask you just a couple of more questions, Dr. White. Appreciate your time. There's some kids in our community that were on subsidized lunch or breakfast, and we find that so many children, they come to school because that breakfast and that lunch is very important to them because their families are challenged, and as a community we want to help. How are we bridging that gap now that the kids are at home? Doesn't mean they eat any less because they're at home. What's the county or the district doing to address?
So what people have to realize that now that school is opening up, the schools are required to feed the children. So that means that the parents would have to make a way to get down there during a certain time frame. So they're going to get the schools should